What's ahead for the future of EverQuest? The EverQuest Show has official comment from Daybreak on a new EverQuest MMO with a breakdown of everything we know and a look at never-before-seen artwork from an unannounced EverQuest game.
And you're watching the EverQuest Show.
Not even close to the end, it's just beginning. Life is getting lighter while the days are getting brighter, yeah. Celebrate life and get excited about good times and good living. Come on, shout it out, hey! Take it up, take it over, take it out of control. Today I'm freeing my soul and now you got me singing, hey!
Welcome to the EverQuest Show. I'm Fading here in the EverQuest Show studios. At the beginning of this season, I told you I had plans to bring you stories from the past, the present, and the future of EverQuest. Well, we've explored the past.
Go build the cool dungeon. Okay, I will go build a cool dungeon.
Some of the goblin stuff, I think the motion capture for the goblin is still retained in the game.
But now it's time to discuss the future of EverQuest and the franchise. Let's start with the elephant in the room. Within the last month, we've all received the incredible news that we've been waiting to hear. There are very early plans to build a new EverQuest MMO. And now, exclusive to the EverQuest Show, I have comment from Daybreak Games company on that recent news. The company sent me this statement. We're very excited to be able to discuss this with the world. To reiterate our CEO G Ham's message, this is still in the concept phase and there's nothing more to share at this time. Okay, though it's not offering anything new, it's adding confidence and emphasis on the future. So what exactly are the future plans? Well, also exclusive here to the EverQuest Show, I'm showing you concept images of a never-before-seen EverQuest game. But before we get to that, before we talk about what a new EverQuest might look like, it's important to know where EverQuest stands with the people that control the money. So to keep you from watching the entire 3-hour presentation by G Ham, the CEO of EG7, I'm going to give you a Cliff's Notes version of everything related to EverQuest in that presentation, and a very clear picture emerges. Of course, I should start by stating the obvious. The future is always uncertain, and sometimes there are things that are out of the control of developers, investors, and gamers. Things like the economy, war, and management turnover. But barring those uncontrollable variables, the picture looks very good for our beloved franchise. Firstly, and most important for good business, EverQuest and Daybreak are stable and profitable.
On the live service side, Daybreak, that's our bread and butter. PC is our biggest revenue source. It's this highly stable portfolio that we've been managing. EverQuest is turning 25 next year. It's a mixed portfolio of games where you see certain games a lot more stable than the others.
And it's great news that both EverQuest and EverQuest II are the stable games, but it also gives merit to additional opportunities. And that leads us to the biggest takeaway from G Ham's presentation and the heart of their business model: focus on franchises.
And then ultimately, it's not about having more games. It's about having franchises, because I think everyone knows this, franchises create more predictable outcomes. We have a number of first-party owned IP that we believe are highly, highly valuable and can be utilized further for additional titles, EverQuest being at the top of the list.
But before we get to additional titles for EverQuest, what about the current EverQuest and EverQuest II live service games?
Existing live games will be maintained with investments necessary. We're not pulling money out, okay? We're going to invest as necessary to continue to prolong. Like EverQuest will be here like a decade later. And I would not be surprised if it's still where it is today. And we want to make sure that that continues to be. But when I say no major investment, what I talked about earlier, like we're not going to remaster like DC Universe Online. We stepped away from that idea.
What you heard there at the end was also that plans for an EverQuest remaster are not likely. I know some fans want to see the graphics updated or bring it into a new graphics engine, but here's a little bit more from G Ham on why that isn't a good idea.
We said, hey, let's go remaster Lord of the Rings. Sounded really great, and we went through the numbers. When we did that, like we got to spend like 30 million bucks. I'm like, why aren't we just making a new game?
And while I'd love to see a graphics update of original EverQuest, I think most of the numbers reflect that us old school players like EverQuest the way it is.
It's difficult to see here, but you'll see that EverQuest numbers actually have gone up because it's super sticky, core audience that's not going anywhere. We continue to push out great content and they're sticking with us. And we expect 25 to be even a better year as we celebrate, or I'm sorry, next year to be a better year as we celebrate our 25th anniversary for EverQuest.
Which brings us to the 25th anniversary of EverQuest.
In case where we need to invest in the existing business, certain games, we want to do that. EverQuest 25th anniversary, yeah, we should invest in that.
And we're still waiting to find out exactly what those plans are. I still have my hopes set on a fanfare or an event similar to that. And by the way, for a look back at all of the fanfares and my editorial on what should happen for the EverQuest 25th anniversary, watch the previous episode of the EverQuest Show. But now we shift to a new phase within EverQuest and Daybreak.
So transitioning from maintain to growth, and then when we do that, if we funneled every single dollar that we make, or a lot of it, into trying to keep the existing portfolio where it is, we can. But that wouldn't be very good return on capital. So we don't want to do that. So I think, you know what, we're going to moderate it as much as we can and be able to invest in larger, better, risk-adjusted growth opportunities.
And that means the development of a new EverQuest MMO. So here's what we know about that project. First of all, we've already established that it's not going to be a remaster. This will be a new game. We also know a proposed model of development for the game.
And development model, some variation of 80-10-10. Sometimes it's going to be 60-20-20.
And you hear a lot about this 80-10-10. So what is it? Well, this just means that 80% of the game will be something that is proven or existing, 10% is improved upon, and 10% is something relatively new.
But what we don't want is 10-10-80. Okay? 10-10-80 meaning a little bit of old, a little bit of improvement, and big, everything is new.
For those of you keeping score, EverQuest Next would have fallen into that type of category, a 10-10-80. It also costs a lot of money, and it can be risky.
But 10-10-80 is what developers love to do, and it's risky.
So minimizing that risk and a better chance to see the game come to fruition. As we know from EverQuest Next, a risky proposition led to no game. Which leads us to the next point, and something that may be good for EverQuest hardcore fans. It's going to be true to the original EverQuest experience. Take a listen.
What that means is EverQuest original one is a hardcore game. So for many years we thought about how do you make it more accessible. We're not. You know, our view is, you know what? Thank you, From Software. You said hardcore is okay. It could be mass market, and we want to try to bring back that original experience as much as we can for EverQuest. That's where we're starting.
And while that's great news for original EverQuest players, EverQuest Online Adventures players may have something to think about as well.
EverQuest PC console future.
In addition to PC, could we see this new EverQuest MMO also launch on a console?
If they could have put EverQuest Next or whatever next EverQuest game, if it could come out on console, I would be very much interested. I think that probably the entire EQOA community would absolutely check it out because that fit more into the lifestyle, because console gaming is a different lifestyle than desktop gaming.
And while this is just the ideation phase, what's the timetable?
EverQuest, I say slotting for 2028. That's not a promise by any means. You know, EverQuest is a tricky one, but we have an idea of how we want to approach it.
And so it's a huge undertaking. And how do they plan to go about developing the next EverQuest MMO?
In order to make the new EverQuest, so the skill set for game development, also there's the skill set regarding genres, but there's also skill set in regards to what type of, where you sort of develop in the life cycle of a particular title. So a team that's exceptional at games as a service, live service, may not be the team that could ship a game, a brand new game. So for new games, while we obviously want to utilize Darkpaw, the studio that oversees EverQuest, EverQuest II, it's not going to be all of them because we do think that particular experience, we don't want to ever make that go away. So we want that staff continuing to focus on that. We will borrow, we will obviously work with that team, but we do need to ramp on top in order to be able to get the new one done.
There are still plenty of unanswered questions about how we get to the next EverQuest MMO, and many of these points could change over the next several years of development, but at least we have a clearer picture about EverQuest, the franchise, and what could be ahead for the next MMO. So what does the next EverQuest look like? Well, I've asked a lot of people in and outside of the EverQuest community, and they all had a lot of different ideas.
Oh man, I would totally go like Warhammer 40K and just go into the future, way into the future. And
You know, Brad would have said, what's the vision? How do we take all the stuff we thought was cool and adapt it to a whole new group of people?
One of the things that kind of saddens me is like, it's when the business side gets so much in the way of the creative development side.
So that last guy that you saw there, you may not recognize him, but he's imagined EverQuest like we've never seen it.
Forget EverQuest Next. This is the world of EverQuest X, or at least so it says on these drawings by this artist. But who is he?
My name is Farzad. I'm a art director, creative visual director, principal concept artist. So I was brought into the project to kind of reimagine EverQuest. They were calling it EQD, EverQuest Dungeons. The way it was told to me was like, we want to reboot it, we want to reimagine it. Let's try out some new stuff.
Okay, so EverQuest Dungeons, but it's going to take a very impressive resume to redesign or reimagine the world of EverQuest.
At the core, I'm a visual designer that works with creative people. I will sit down with them and help them visualize the entire world, all the way from the environments, all the way down to the characters and like the props that they have, the chairs they sit on, so the whole thing. So I worked on the Oddworld games. Darkwatch was a first-person shooter. Probably the most recent thing that came out was the latest installment in the Predator series, which was Prey on Hulu. I think it was my fourth Predator movie. That was a lot of fun to watch with my family and go, oh, there's the shield that I kind of helped design, and there's that thing that I kind of helped design.
Farzad has done some amazing work, and he's got a very unique art style, but what did he think of the world of EverQuest?
I've never played EverQuest, and I haven't since, right? But it looked very dated. I don't discount the real and true passion that people have for the thing that they love, right? But one of the things about it that I thought I could bring to the table was kind of like bring an objective point of view, which was I've never played the game. Clearly, I'm not in love with the property because I never played it. Therefore, I felt I could look at it more objectively and offer objective feedback and professionally, without hurting anybody's feelings and saying, you know, that just doesn't look good, or I think there's room for improvement here. I was thinking this: is it right or wrong? Does it fit with the IP, the universe, what the fans would accept, even though it might surprise them? Will it delight them and not make them go, that's just completely wrong? I want the EverQuest, all the characters, to feel like they're heroes. Heroes, like to the degree of like if they were to fit into a Marvel type universe.
Being a super fan, I was excited and a little bit intrigued by what I'd seen in some of these drawings, but I wanted to get into the process of how you develop or reimagine the characters of EverQuest.
They wanted every race to be just gorgeous. Something you'd see in the Marvel universe and on the sort of like aesthetically more beautiful. They also wanted them slightly stylized, not as realistic in human proportions and facial features. Those sketches that you've seen are explorations, pushing stylization, like how much do we want to pull and stretch the human figure? How beautiful do you want them? Like one of my favorite things was design. The very first things we designed was the Eldar, the elf race. So for the Eldar, you know, like initially I was trying different proportions, facial features, and then with the outfitting, we really wanted to see if we could create like a woodsy, foresty, natural sort of like hero suits. Like what if their armor was like actually like vines that grew around them, you know, and grew around them like perfectly to form like the different armors that they need, or if they were like the leaves and the trunk, the wood trunk that could like they could literally grow it on them. They wanted the Eldar to be a little bit more elongated, smaller waists, both for the male and females, and I tried everything, all sorts of stuff, and there was you know, warriors, there was like shaman type characters, archers, all sorts of stuff. So I explored all of that. one of the descriptions that was given to me about the dwarves, they're made out of living clay. What does that mean if they're made out of living clay, living sculptures, right? And we would talk about it. It's literally, they could like, if they're going into battle, they can grab like harder like rock materials and like put them on. Or like, you know, like warriors of ancient times where they would like get dressed and put things on in layers and like get prepared and stuff. They'd get the same, except you got like dwarf war dressers that are like just layering on clay and this material and putting edging and maybe sculpting a little bit of an, you know, so that's what that, and that's different. From that, you get something, you can get a lot of really neat original stuff. And then over the course of the process and the conversations, it gets refined, right? So I think by midpoint, they're like, maybe it's too much. Maybe the fans will not like the idea that they're too much like living clay. The fans are really important, but I also don't mind surprising the fans, even if it means they get a little angry with what they see. Because I can tell you this, I don't think that they'd also be happy if they kind of saw the same thing over and over if we're just constantly like, the fans want exactly this. I'm like, yeah, but they'll also be tired of it like 5 seconds later. I'd rather challenge the fans. I'd rather make them do a little bit of the work up here, take them on a journey. But in that case, I really love the living clay idea. And I felt that if they ever went, this game was made, I would hope that they'd eventually go back to that original concept they had, because I think it really stands out. It's really memorable to me. This was a wonderful project. It was like 4.5 months where I could really like get into the headspace.
And if you want to see the complete collection of EverQuest X or EverQuest Dungeons artwork, you can visit EverQuestShow.com.
So is this the next EverQuest MMO? Well, the short answer is no. Farzad's work was completed in late 2018. That's several years after the cancellation of EverQuest Next. As I reached out to Darkpaw and Daybreak Games for comment on this artwork and the game EverQuest X or EverQuest Dungeons, this was their response. Quote, "These were from a previous iteration of a potential new EverQuest game. However, that specific concept of the game is no longer the direction we're moving towards. The concepts provided by Farzad may or may not be utilized in future EverQuest games." And it certainly is different, but it may be a little bit too far removed from that 80-10-10 concept moving forward. Only time will tell. Now, you may have noticed some of the nifty EverQuest and EverQuest II swag that I've been wearing in some of the latest episodes. Well, I wanted to share an update about the Darkpaw swag store. I've recently purchased several items from the store, and I found the quality is really good, prices are reasonable, and the shipping is fast. I love the EQ2 game mats. The colors are really vibrant and they are huge. They come in all different sizes, but look at these. I've purchased some mouse pads and posters and a few shirts as well.
Well, soon you can expect even more great items up on the swag store. I asked Darkpaw 2 questions regarding the swag store and got these responses. 1. Will new items be added to the EQ2 swag store for the upcoming expansion, Ballads of Zamara? The answer was simply yes. We'll likely see at least posters and game pads or mouse pads for the expansion. And I also asked, will 25th anniversary EverQuest items be also put on the swag store? The answer, most likely yes, not at the beginning of the year though. Yet another reason to be excited about the future of EverQuest.
With the recent EverQuest development news and the healthy status of EverQuest and EverQuest II, looks like I'll have content for the EverQuest show for years to come. This is honestly the most positive I've been about EverQuest since before EverQuest Next was canceled. And let's keep it going strong. Make sure you like and share this video if you could, please. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. And I want to hear your comments on EverQuest X or EverQuest Dungeons, that concept artwork that you saw, or what the next EverQuest MMO looks like. Do you agree with the direction that EG7 is taking? Comment below, let me know what you think, and as always, share the video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in NORAD.
We gotta be the best we can be. And though sometimes we don't want to, still we gotta chase our dreams. Reach up and reach high, because we're gonna pull through and give it all we got, even though it can seem hard to catch and make it happen. But we can't start sliding, come on, and do what you gotta do to fight on. And so no matter what comes your way, nothing can ruin your day or even wipe your smile away. And by the time I'm up and out of my bed, I got 100 new ideas floating around in my head, with the hope for tomorrow, a dream that I can see of all the awesome things, the great people we can be. Or maybe by the music or the songs that I sing, I'll change the world.